Hello, YouTube. Just let me get set up here. Okay. Okay, I'm just waiting for my TikTok. Looks like I'm not wearing anything. I am wearing stuff. Okay. Okay, just waiting for TikTok people to turn up. That's where my main audience is. Do these every day. But I just started putting them on YouTube. Hello, Jenny. Hi, Taylor. Where are you from? Before we get going, I'm always fascinated to hear where you're from. I don't know if I'm fascinated, but I'm always very interested. Fascinated that's a whole other level, isn't it? Fascinating. Sometimes I'll hear about countries I've never even heard of before, so it actually can be fascinating. Okay, so where are you from? I'm here in Vancouver, Canada, and I'm also filming on YouTube these days if you're interested. So where are you from? I'm in Vancouver. Abbotsford. Oh, you've been here before, haven't you, Taylor? That's about Abbotsford. For people who don't know, I'm in Vancouver. I'm downtown, and Abbotsford's about an hour. It could be even a little bit more. It's quite a drive, but it's beautiful out there. It's in the valley and surrounded by mountains. It's very pretty. Vancouver's a gorgeous city. It can't be beat. When on a sunny day, it can't be beat. You've got the oceans, the mountains, and downtown. It's all. I mean, it's just gorgeous. Buffalo. Hi, Buffalo. The only flaw with Vancouver is it's ridiculously expensive. The reason is that even though but the housing rates are just ridiculous, but the wages don't match that. Our minimum wage is really low, and yet our housing is more expensive than anywhere else in Canada. But our minimum wage is also, I think, the lowest in Canada. It's really weird. I don't know. I don't know anything about politics. I don't know why they do that, but anyway. Okay, staying safe from the smog. We still have smog here? Do we have smog here? In the valley where you're from, Lynn, in Abbotsford, the smog tends to sit in the valley because it's got no ocean or anything to blow it around. And it's got mountains sort of to hold it in there. So if you do get smog, it tends to stay around a bit longer. I'm right on the ocean here, and it blows in and blows out. Quicker, I think. I don't know. Why am I talking about geography? I don't know anything about it. Okay, we've got enough people here. Listen, I've got a new link in my website. If you go up there, I've got everything that I've got to offer listed, so it's really easy for you to just click on. So you've got courses in there, private coaching, and then my free behavior board teaches you how to give respect to get it. So it's just all clickable and easy now if you're interested. So you can just check up there in my TikTok. And geez, I should put it here. I'll do that. I'll put a note there. Put link. I forgot about YouTube because I don't really have really a following in YouTube. Put link in YouTube. Okay, so parenting questions. Let's get going. Okay. My 3-year-old daughter whines, and I've told her that's not how you talk, and she continues. Do I now ignore? Yeah, if there's no consequence for things, people aren't going to stop. I mean, everybody, adults, whatever. If there's no tickets for speeding, wouldn't we all be speeding? If we never had to pay rent, if we were never going to be kicked out, would we pay rent? You see what I'm saying? So what are the consequences? The consequence might be just ignoring. I would start there and see how it goes. But yeah, ignoring is a consequence. Yeah, give it a go. Geez, I hate whining. That's my thing. I hate whining. I can handle almost anything but whining. Just hurts my feelings and my teeth, you know? Tantrums don't bother me at all. Okay, so I'm just waiting for questions. Okay. You don't like timeouts. What's another punishment? Well, timeout, the reason I hate them is because I think they're humiliating and mean. But yeah, look at my behavior board. All sorts of ideas in there. So check that out. It's up in the link up there. My free behavior board. Check that out. But yeah, timeouts, waste of time. Can't stand it. 3-year-old who keeps going in the fridge. Well, a consequence might be Well, anything. The crime doesn't have, I mean, the punishment doesn't have to fit the crime. So just say, no more going in the fridge. And when you do, there'll be a consequence. Put it up on the behavior board. That's free up above there in that link. And the behavior board. And just put no going in fridge. And, here's kind of confusing too. If you ask that child to go in the fridge to help you out, it's inconsistent. So never let them go in the fridge is what I'm saying. Because if you give them that, like my kids never opened up the fridge until they were older because I never asked them to. It wasn't a doable for them. It's sort of an inconsistency. Yeah, you can go in the fridge when I say, it's just one of those things. But yeah, put a rule, no more going in the fridge. And when they do, there's a consequence. And you can check that out. It's in the behavior board and the link in my TikTok. Every time I tell my 6-year-old to do something, he yells, no, I'm not going to do that. What's a good, I don't know what's going on there. That's a very broad question. What are you asking him to do? Are you asking him to detail your car or just put his dirty clothes in the laundry? Like, I don't know what you're doing there. So yeah. And the whole, what you said there, tell him what to do. I never really told my kids what to do. They just knew that there's rules, and if they don't follow them, mom's going to come up with a consequence. It was just sort of, they were more accountable for their own lives, like from the time they were really little. So what exactly, are you just maybe too bossy? Maybe, I don't know. So it's getting under his skin and he's telling you off. I don't know what's going on there. There's just too many things it could be. So I can't really give you a great answer here. I just told him to rinse off the splash pad and he yells, no, I'm not doing that. What's a splash pad? What's a splash pad? I'm going to look it up. So that's an outdoor little play center thing. I'm kind of on the fence here. It sort of sounds like, okay, he doesn't respect you. So I would work on my respect first. Like, you're asking me to sort of, how do I deal with that one thing? Well, he doesn't respect you. If you're asking him to do something that's fair and reasonable and he says, no, I'm not doing it, then you got to work on your leadership skills. Remember, we're never fixing kids here. We're teaching parents, because it's just, he just doesn't respect you at all. So work on your leadership skills. You go and link above there, and there's courses there. There's a whole course on how to get respect in 5 weeks if you're interested. And but yeah, he just doesn't respect you. So it doesn't really matter what you're asking him so much as the fact that he responds like that. If you're being fair and reasonable and he's responding like that, then yeah, work on your own leadership skills. Remember, we're never fixing kids. We're teaching parents. Make an issue out of food. Food becomes an issue. No? Were you answering someone else? Or was that a continuation? Is that a question? I don't quite understand. Oh, how can I prepare my toddler for a new baby? You can't. How on earth could you explain to a 2-year-old what's about to happen? It's impossible. They're going to be in the hospital holding that new little brother or sister going, oh, it's so cute. And you're going to go, oh, what a wonderful big brother. Then after a week at home, they're going to take the baby and chuck him on the floor. I mean, they're just like, they just don't have any concept of it. Imagine if you're 2 and you've only been in the world for 2 years, and the first year you were a potato laying on a mattress. Like, how could you possibly have the concept of how your life is going to change? So no, you can't prepare them. If you can you let me know and I'll share the information. But yeah, I've never heard of anything that works. There's lots of prep you can do, and it's kind of like Lamaze class. I'm sure it's okay. It didn't do a darn thing for me once you're in it. That labor takes over. Breathing, shut up, I'm going through hell here. Like, it's like that. It's, yeah. Some things you just can't prepare for. Do you give them a consequence if you did not see them hit? I'm in the restroom. And you can't do that. No, you got to see it. If it's that big of a problem, they're fighting all the time and you're going to the bathroom, take one of them with you. I don't think, when my kids were little, I don't think I ever went to the bathroom alone. It's like, I could be in the kitchen or doing anything else, no big deal. Second you go in the bathroom, do you know why that is? There's actually a reason. If anyone knows what it is, maybe you can come up with it. I know what the reason is, but why do kids always want to be in the bathroom with you? Why is that? More than anywhere else? Do you know the answer to that? I'm curious. How do you handle video game meltdowns when it's time to be done, even when we set boundaries? Yeah, just have a media management system set up. So let's say it is, no, it's not curiosity. Could be, but that's not the big reason. Anyway, good guess though. It could be part of it, but once they've seen it once, it keeps going, right? So yeah, get the media management system going. I have a whole bunch of videos on that. If you just go to TikTok, well, you're already here. If in TikTok you go Bratbusters Media Management, it'll explain it all. So let's say you allocate 10 hours a week. As an example, I don't know how much, that's up to you to decide. Then you have a chart and you have 600 minutes on there. You tick off every minute they're on there, okay? And over a week. And so they get to manage it over a week. I don't want to go into the whole spiel right now because I've talked about it so many times, but that media management system is a whole system. And yeah, check that out. Okay, so curiosity. Yeah, number one, you try to lock them out so they want to join. Oh, there it is. Parents can't move. Perfect, Lady V. Parents can't move. Are you an older parent? Like, have you got older kids? Have you gone through all that? Yeah, you're stuck. You're a victim. You can't move. They've got your full attention. You're just sitting there, right? That's why. Yeah, you're trapped. You're their victim. Uh, Even in the shower, that I remember my daughter, she wasn't allowed to open up the door. This is when she was crawling. She was a baby. She was such an easy little kid. Anyway, but even with a crawling baby, she just wanted to be in the shower with me. So she'd sit there and she'd put her finger on the door just so she felt closer to me. Oh, it's funny. Big fight, tears, yelling before bed with 3. Do I talk about it in the morning or move on? Yeah, wait, I got a course coming out. I was accountable last week, but the person who makes me accountable forgot. So I didn't get it done last Saturday. It's due tomorrow. And this morning we had another discussion about it. It's going to be out tomorrow. It's all about bedtime battles. I've got it on my list to do today. And it's already kind of dumb, but I want to edit it. Anyway, bedtime battles. Yeah, if it's big tears, bedtime is kind of twofold. Getting them to bed is one, then keeping them in bed is another. So that course will be out tomorrow. I'll be talking about it more tomorrow. But I've also talked about bedtimes a lot of times. So if you go in just in my TikTok and just put bedtime or Bratbusters bedtime battles, it'll come up. What should I do if someone's kid doesn't respect others by throwing things and the parents do nothing? Yeah, I've dropped friends over that, by the way. I've had friends who their kids just hit my kids and they refused to ever take action, so I just dumped them. If they weren't friends I was going to see outside of our kids, I dumped them. But if it was a friend that I saw also outside of my kids, I would just say, hey, let's just, have an adult. Let's go out and do movies or something like adult time without kids. But yeah, how do you transition to a toddler bed? And there's no set age for this. I did that when my kids hit the floor. When they flip over and they hit the floor. I thought, okay, time to transition. And before that, I was already putting pillows out because I thought they're getting close. Sure enough, my son went right between the pillows, hit the floor. So what I did was I just took the crib apart and then I just put the crib mattress on the floor and then I put couch cushions or whatever all around it. And but yeah, it was no big deal. He just, my kids knew that when I said something, even when they were really little, it was going to happen. So, but when they're toddlers, it takes a little bit longer because it's consistent corrective actions, right? So every time he got off the mattress, I would just walk him back and say, no, you stay in bed. And then every time I just keep putting him back. And he'd get so tired he'd fall asleep. At what age do you stop ignoring and start validating big, loud feelings? I don't know what you mean by that. The only thing I ignore is tantrums and whining. Yeah. But that's behavior that we're ignoring, not feelings. Why do people get this mixed up all the time? Well, it's so frustrating for me because I know it's trendy out there. Oh, tantrums, you never ignore their emotional needs. That's not an emotional need, it's a bad behavior. Actually, tantrums aren't even a bad behavior. Whining is more of a bad behavior. But yeah, you don't need to validate all that. You're not ignoring kids, you're ignoring their behavior. Nothing wrong with that. They learn to go towards the light. They learn to only do what works by the age of about 3.5. So yeah, don't get those mixed up. Yeah, you're not ignoring kids, you're just ignoring bad behavior or tantrums, or they're not feelings. That's not feelings. My 3-year-old fights nap time. What do you recommend? Maybe stop the naps. My kids didn't nap regularly after 12 months old. So, oops. So maybe there's just too many naps going on. So that could be it. 3 years old. Wow. My kids were like 12 months old when they stopped napping. They just weren't interested. So they would have accidental naps though. So maybe they're just too old. I've had clients who've had, one of them recently was, I think, a 5-year-old who had 2 3-hour naps a day, and it was becoming a problem with school. And I'm like, yeah, I guess so. Like, how do you even do that? But then he wouldn't sleep at night, and they thought I was brilliant for coming up with maybe doesn't need any naps. Oh, I never. That's cute. Whining isn't a feeling. Yeah, it's not a feeling. You don't need to validate everything. By the way, that's the style right now, is validating everything, even the rotten stuff. You validate everything. You know what you're doing? You're raising self-entitled snowflakes with mental health issues. They expect every little thought and feeling and fart and burp to be validated by everyone in the world. That's what you're doing when you validate everything. You do not need to validate everything. Absolutely not. And if your kids do not feel safe and heard and loved with you, you got bigger fish to fry. Ignoring a tantrum does not damage a child. If they are damaged by that, there's something else going on. Okay, you got bigger fish to fry. So yeah. 30 years ago, I saw this trend coming in to validate everything. It came along with those freaking participation awards. God, I hate that. It's like you get an award just for turning up. Like, you're raising these princesses, snowflakes, and self-entitlement. It was just ridiculous. And I guess some people are still giving participation awards. That's mental to me. It's just mental. Doesn't make any sense at all. Okay. Yeah, you were commenting on XOXO. What about kids behaving at home but not in public? That means you're an inconsistent parent. I was the exact same mother no matter where we were, who was around, what we were doing, who we were saying, nothing. I was exactly the same. So it says to me that you're shy and self-conscious about disciplining when you're out. That's what that says to me. Otherwise, why would they do it? How do I get a 2-year-old to understand? No, she thinks it's funny. They don't really think it's funny. It's a different kind of a laugh. It's like a testing you laugh, and it's not real. Anyway, when you say no, they're not really listening. It's all about consistent corrective actions. They learn through repetition. You might have to say no 100 times, but to the same thing, if you say no 99 times and forget on the 100th time, they're going to keep doing it. It has to be 100% consistent. So it's consistent corrective actions because they learn through repetition. It's not words. It's all these mini therapy sessions discussing things with toddlers. You say the word no, it just sort of signals that that consistent corrective action is coming up. That's all. But yeah, they're not listening to the word no. They don't care. They're two. They don't care. We all need to know the difference between real feelings and tantrums and whining. Well, do you really? Do you need to? Why? If you're okay, um, you're kind of talking like a therapist there. Kids don't need therapy. They just need a lot of fun and love and corrections when they make poor decisions. Yeah, you don't need to be a therapist. There's a lot of that. Some of my clients are child psychologists, and they hire me because they're so busy validating all the feelings they can't figure out why their teenagers have gone off the rails. So yeah, we don't need to know the difference. Believe it or not, you don't. Okay. Do you offer teen therapy sessions? Your direct approach is appealing. I don't talk to teenagers anymore. I only talk to parents. So, and I teach parent-child relationships. The reason I don't talk to teens anymore is I can get their respect. I can, but then I'm gone, and then what are you going to do after that? Doesn't work. So yeah, I don't do it anymore. The only reason I used to do it when I first started my business, I specialized in troubled teens, and I would get information out of the teenagers. That's why I would do it. I don't do any of that anymore. It's just, your business evolves. I just do what works. I'm more in the prevention realm now anyway. And if it's crisis work, very rarely will I talk to the teenager. It's very rare. And if you're having problems with teenagers, your number one problem usually is that it's your interpretation of them is off. You expect too much from them. You don't understand what they're going through. Um, you know, they're becoming adults and hormones are flying. There's a lot of social pressure. They're in a very small social pool at school also. So it's not like they have a lot of people to choose from. So they have to find their way within often people they don't even like or that don't like them. There's a lot of pressure that comes along with being a teenager. It's hard. So your lack of understanding of what they're going through is often the problem. And also maybe you're telling your teen what to do. You don't do that. Um, so yeah, there's two very important parenting skills with teenagers. Number one is listen. You listen to understand, not listen to gather information to lecture with. So you listen to understand, then you show empathy, not sympathy, and leave emotions out of it. And then you stop talking. If they want your advice, they'll ask for it. They probably already know what it is anyway. So just listen. The better you get at that, they're going to tell you everything. Then they're going to start asking for your advice. Then you answer something like this. Well, I'm not sure. Let's figure it out. This is what I might do. What do you think? Blah, blah, blah. So the number two skill is negotiating with teenagers. You negotiate pretty much everything. Hey, look, I want you home by 11 tonight. Can I stay out till 1? Let's make it 12. How's that? You see, negotiate everything. Two-year-old yells when he wants things. They won't respond until he uses words, but he always yells first. Um, yeah, I don't know I don't know how you'd manage that. Like I wouldn't. So his go-to is yell, and then he goes, "Oh, I'll use my words." I would probably, when he yells, I'd probably leave the room. There'd be a real clear sign of yelling, and then by the time he uses his words, I'm out of the room anyway. Like you yell, like it's the consistent corrective actions. The corrective action would be, "Hey, mom disappears when I yell." Perhaps, I don't know if logistically, the way it's all set up in your house, I don't know if you can do that. And when I say leave, I don't mean you go out for coffee. I mean you just leave the room and pretend you don't know he's just yelled. You just ignore the yell. I don't know what you mean. How can I bond with my children and not be afraid to lose them because I fear I'll leave them by C and then you put by death. I don't know what you mean. I don't know what your question is. Like, I don't know what you mean by the fear. How do I teach my kids emotional stability if I'm not around? Are you not going to be around? Is that what you're saying? What are you saying? Okay, I'll wait for your answer. Okay. Oh, my kid's father passed away from a semi truck, so I have that fear. You can't plan for that. Don't don't go there. If you want my help through that, that's more crisis work, and yeah, that's you might want to hire me for that. I can't answer that on here. I see what you're saying. I deal with death of parents and that with kids. So yeah, if you want to hire me, I'll help you hopefully with that. But that would be one-on-one coaching. What are the signs of ODD? It isn't a thing. ODD is every pediatrician I've ever talked to has said they just made it up to make moms feel better. Like it's not your fault. It's your kid's fault. They have ODD. They're just oppositional. And then they came up with the acronym or the term oppositional defiant disorder. So yeah, work on your leadership skills. That's all it is. Remember, we're never fixing kids here. It's not a medical diagnosis, by the way. It's just an acronym made up to make moms feel better. That's what every single doctor's told me. So there's got to be something to it, right? Like it's not a medical diagnosis. They're just oppositional because you're not a leader. They don't fight with leaders. Why would they? There's nothing to fight against. So when would you consider it too late to gain respect? Maybe when you're 80 and they're 60, I guess. Maybe too many decades in there. Under that, pretty much any time. You've got some work to do though, damage control. If they're teenagers, you got damage control. If they're younger, you just start being a leader. You lead and they will follow. So yeah, I started my business with teenagers, troubled teens. Well, parents of troubled teenagers. That's my specialty, is teenagers. So, and they say, I'm sure it's too late. No, it's not too late, but it's going to take a while. And I'm going to tell you to have to do stuff that you're not going to like. And they don't like it. They don't like what I have to say. In the first week, especially, they often fight it because you have to do damage control. Don't ask me what it is, because you'll never hire me if you have a teenager, if you hear what I tell parents. And they always sort of say, well, that's not fair. And I go, I know, welcome to raising teenagers. It's not fair. It's not about being fair. It's not about fair and reasonable to you. Yeah. It's a lot of give and very little take, especially initially. It's never too late to do the right thing. You know what? I've had this argument with people before, like, can people change? And yes and no. I think your basic nature is always the same. Your basic tendencies are always the same. You can fight against them, but people only care. Listen to this very carefully. It's really good advice, actually. People only care not about who you are, what you think, what you feel, what you intend to do. They don't care. Do you know all they care about? Like, this is when you're adults. All people care about is what you give them. What are you giving to them? What are you saying? What are you doing for them? That's all they care about. Because some people will actually argue, well, I didn't mean it. My intentions were good. Who gives a crap? That would be like if you slap someone and say, well, I didn't mean it. My intentions were not to do that. People don't give a crap about your intentions, your thoughts, nothing. All they care about when you're bonding with people is how you treat them. That's it. And you can always change your behavior. So therefore, you can't really change who you are, but you can change your behavior. And I believe that with enough practice that habit can become more of who you are. But children don't have those habits yet, but they do have some basic tendencies that we often have to work with. But does that make sense? People don't care about what you're thinking or feeling, but only what you give them. How do you treat them? I have a real pet peeve about people who say, oh, I didn't mean it. It wasn't my intention. Yeah, but you did it. Like, how does that help me? You know what I mean? Like, that's passive aggressive crap. I'm not into all that stuff. I don't like the game playing. Okay. So yeah, my point with that is that no matter what you're thinking or feeling towards your kids, you can always change your behavior toward them. And they'll see that. And you can say, look, I realize, and I would even own it. Say, I realize I messed up with this. I know I've yelled all your life, but I want to be better for you. So, and I'm working at it. And you got to follow through though. I need those doctors' names. They're clients, so I can't tell you. First steps to gaining respect and begin. You just look it up. Is ODD a medical diagnosis? Look it up. There could be some false, doctors have told me it's not real. It's not a medical diagnosis. It's just an acronym made up to make moms feel better. Imagine them having to come up with that. I thought that was funny. That came out when the new style of parenting came out. That please your parent style, validating everything, making everything easy for them, giving them participation awards just for turning up. Sometimes they even get it if they don't turn up. If a kid doesn't turn up to a game, they'll sometimes send a participation award home. I've even heard of that. How stupid a world we're in right now. Is that the craziest thing you ever heard? Well, maybe not. Maybe you like that, but I think it's just think it's awful. Okay. Never too late to do the right thing. Absolutely. Is 2 children a huge transition to compared to 1? Absolutely not. I've heard the third is harder. I only have 2. I found it easy. But the first one's a big transition. It changes everything. And then the second one, it's like, "Yo, are you here?" Like, they just sort of fit in. I can remember walking tippy-toe around my son, my older one, when he was sleeping, and with my daughter, so she was fast asleep. Well, I had a kid in school. So, "Oh, up we go and pick up your brother. Oh, up we go." She was constantly being woken up, like it was no big deal, right? They just fit in. But I've heard the third one's tougher. Um, but it depends on their basic natures too, you know. My son is 8 years old. He's full of energy and doesn't want to hear no. How do I reach him? Work on your leadership skills. Remember, we're not fixing them. We're teaching you. Work on your leadership skills and he will listen. I never worked with easy kids. Not once, not ever. Not one person ever said to me, "Here's an easy one, Lisa." They always said, "Good luck with this one." They were all, wired and all that. So yeah, you just got to work on your leadership. That's where I learned all this. I didn't learn this through parenting. I learned some of the teen stuff through living with my own kids, my teenagers. Teenagers are different. How do you live with teenagers? That's different from, you got to do it to understand it. Because seeing your kids grow and change and letting go, and oh my God, that was hard. But anyway, but yeah, let's just work on your leadership skills. You want my courses out? It's in the link there. Everything I've got to offer is in the link. Some cost money, some is free. The behavior board is completely free. You can hire me for coaching, buy one of my courses, or download my free behavior board. It's all in the link. That link is new. I just did that yesterday, I think. Actually, I didn't. My daughter did. And because she said, "Oh, your website's a mess, Mama." I know, I hate it. So she goes, "It's just too hard to see everything." So it's all there, right there. And I know people are using it because a lot more is going on right now because of that link. Just makes it easier. My kid had a kindergarten graduation talk about participation award. You know what? And I never say what school should be doing. It's none of my business. I don't know anything about teaching or school or anything. But the only reason those participation awards came out was because of the parents and this new style of parenting. My kid feels really bad when they don't win. And okay, everyone gets an award. Like, it was just, everything's just done to appease the parents, right? Yeah, the behavior board, thousands and thousands of people have downloaded that. And that has always been free. It always will be free. But that's a really good place to start. If you're going to buy the course, the 5-week course, How to Get Respect in 5 Weeks, the first 3 weeks are 3 behavior boards. 1, 2, 3, and a whole bunch of other stuff's thrown in there too. But weeks 4 and 5, we do in the moment discipline. You get away from the behavior board. That's next level. That's when, you know what? I never used a behavior board. It's just a teaching tool. So keep in mind, you won't always be using that. You can pull it out from time to time with something you really want the whole family to concentrate on. But overall, like I would have never used a behavior board. It's just a teaching tool, but it's a really good one because you're on there too. It does 2 things. It shows you how to be accountable. It also shows you how to only focus on one rule per week. That's the main thing. Just focus on one thing per week. Pretty much every single new client says this to me after the first session. "What about all the other crap they're doing?" And I'm like, "So? I don't care. Do whatever you were doing before. It doesn't matter to me. But that behavior board, that's law. You make that work." That's all we're focused on because you're learning how to do all this. So you got to pace yourself. Oops. One to two was so hard for me. That's why I'm here. So your second one was harder. It might just be the personalities too. My son had tantrums. He's the older one. My daughter never cried, never had tantrums. She was easy as anything. But my son, even all he ever had was tantrums. He wasn't, he didn't have a ton of them. But yeah, what time is it? Oh, I'm gonna have to go soon. Yeah. Um, but anyway, I didn't have a ton of them. But yeah, I don't know. They're all different. Um, I probably shouldn't tell this story, but now I've said that I have to. I knew someone years ago who they were married for like 20 years, decided they were going to have a kid because all their friends had kids. They had this kid that was nothing like they expected or wanted, really. So then they thought they'd have another one to keep that one company because they were never really interested in. You could just see it. They weren't enjoying parenting at all. And the kids knew it. The kids were out of control. Imagine if you were unwanted I'm sure they love them, but you could just see these kids weren't wanted. And they were like, they had money, they had a nice home, they had everything seemingly on the outside, but the parents should never have had kids, really. Second one comes along. Not only did they not play together, they fought like cat and dog, and the parents said, "We wish we'd never had kids." I remember that. I'd never heard anyone say that, and they said it in front of the kids. So yeah, I'd never heard of that before. Like, I don't even, I guess they love them. I don't know. But and they were really nice people. Like, they just were not built to have kids. You're not, I'm not saying you're like that at all. It just reminded me of that when they had their second. They said they thought the first was hard, but the second. But yeah, they should not have had kids. I never saw them once look like they enjoyed anything about it. Not once, not ever. Okay. Foster mom of 24, adoptive mom of 2. ODD is for real. It is they can be oppositional, but it's not a medical diagnosis. Like, you see what I'm saying? It's not a medical, it's just, it's like saying, oh, being feisty is real. It's like that. It's a thing. Yeah, you can be feisty, but it's not like a medical, oh, well, the doctor doesn't write down feisty and here's the medication. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, oppositional defiant disorder is it's an explanation of a feisty kid, yeah, but it's not a medical diagnosis. And remember, those are all the kids I worked with. All those kids, the feisty ones. My boys, 8 and 3, co-sleep. In one, I can't get them separated. I don't think so. They're both boys. I don't think, overall, I don't go, ooh, that's so weird. But I don't think, they're still really young. I get asked some questions sometimes about appropriateness, and it's kind of a judgment call too. You kind of have to judge for yourself what you think is. Do you feel that that's appropriate? I don't know. That's kind of a judgment call. It's not like a black and white yes or no. Yeah. It is like, it's a trait, really. It's just being feisty. That's all. But those are all the kids I work with. Those are all the kids I developed this with. My kids were easy. Those are all the kids that made me develop all these skills. By the time I had my own kids, I had it all figured out, and they popped out. I was ready for anything, and they were really easy kids. My son had tantrums, but overall, they were both quite easy compared to what I worked with, because I never worked with easy kids. Home with my daughter. She's 2.5. We decided sibling is important for her. Yeah, um, to each his own. I mean, some people are happy with 1 kid or no kids or 10 kids, or it's a personal choice. I would have liked, I always said I wanted 4, but every time we'd travel, especially overhaul long overseas flights, I thought, yeah, I'm really glad we just have 2. So, my first is harder, but only after I had a second. I swear he was mean. He was meant to be an only child. Yeah, they're all different, right? There's no perfect way in every family. Some things work in one family, they don't work in another. I think we're all looking for the cure all. This is the right way to do it. And it's like business. You talk to a million different successful entrepreneurs, they'll all have a different path. So it's kind of like that with parenting. There's some basics, yes, and that's what I'm teaching. The basic stuff, yes, the leadership. But after that, then you're going to have your own style. You know, that's why I don't talk a lot about what kind of a mother I was, because um, it was my style, but my methods is what I teach. But my style, I don't really talk about it much. Because I was crazy. Are your children close? Not really. They're a boy and a girl. They live not that far apart, or they live farther apart. My son, we don't see a lot of. He's out in the suburbs and he's got his business, and yeah, we don't see a lot of him. My daughter and I see each other every day. But yeah, they're all, when they see each other, they get along great, and we all love each other. But that friendship, because they have such different interests, and that's a lot of it. Is do you have things in common? They always say you can pick your friends, but not your family. And what that really means is you don't always have the same things in common with them. So it's hard to be friends and hang out with someone that you don't have anything in common with. So it just depends on what your interests are, really. say I lose my cool. The only reason that you lose your cool, I'm gonna have to go in a minute, I got a client, is because you don't know what to do. So it's like anything. Stress comes from not being able to fix things and worrying about stuff that you can't change or fix. So once you know how to move forward with calm leadership parenting, everything starts to get easier. But it's not at first. It's really hard. Getting respect is really, it's a lot of work. It's very hard to do, but maintaining it is easy. It's so worth the work because once you've set yourself up as a leader, like I hear from clients all the time, and they say, "Yeah, it was hell." If they really are struggling with, especially teenagers, they say, "Yeah, it was hell," but things are getting easier, and things usually get worse before they get better. The older the kids, the more likely that is, because they're like, "I remember the old you. Now you're trying to be someone different." I don't think so. So it's going to take you a while to gain their trust that you actually are changing your ways. So yeah, you're just losing your cool because you don't know what else to do. Just keep following. You can hire me, buy one of my courses. I actually have a course called Get Respect in 5 Weeks. That's on my link up there, or you can hire me, or you can just download my free behavior board and try for yourself. That's a teaching tool. It doesn't get you exactly where you need to go, but if you've just got small problems, it's a small solution kind of thing. But I do use that with all my clients in my course because it is a teaching tool. It teaches you how to give respect to get it, and how to simplify things and just focus on one rule per week. Because I would focus on everything in one day. That's how I would do it. But yeah, you're learning how to do that. So you want to start with one rule per week. Yeah, I don't know what to say to that, Tessa. A 4-year-old asking for food all day long. This is more, I have found more of this recently, and I'd say in the last 6 months than 17 years in my business. Food hoarding, um, getting panicky around food, going in and sneaking food behind parents' backs, but food hoarding. And I don't know what's going on. I don't know, it's in the stars or something, but I've heard more about this in the last 6 months than I probably have in the last 17 years of doing this. I don't know what's going on. And also, every situation's different in how you manage it. So I don't know. Is it a medical thing? Is there some medical, if you had your child tested for um, glucose inconsistencies or something, blood tests? I don't know. I'm not a doctor. So maybe there is a medical reason. I would rule that out first. And plus, what are they hoarding? Are they hoarding broccoli or candy? Like, have they got a sweet tooth? That's why my kids, I never really had sugar or salt in the house, or really preservatives. We just ate really clean. So they didn't tend to get like bad cravings. Sugar and salt, especially sugar, I understand, gives you bad cravings. So can set you off. But I don't know. And same with food dyes. You'd have to research that with a doc, talk to a doctor about all that. But yeah, I don't know why your child's doing that. They're all different, and I don't always figure it out. Sometimes it's just like I almost call it like a Tourette's. It's almost something they can't help. It's almost like a OCD or Tourette's or something, like food hoarding or becoming bulimic, or it's almost like one of those kind of things. Food hoarding, it can lead to that. So that's why you kind of want to figure it out early. What's going on there? Anyway, if you want my help, you'd have to hire me. I actually have a client. So I got to go. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. I'll be back again tomorrow, and just checking the link there. Everything I've got to offer you is in that link above there in my bio. That's on TikTok. Okay, bye now.